So, hi, it's Richard from the Homeschool Freedom Club, and I am doing another interview today, just introducing another home ed parent, Bella Williams, who has been doing home ed for a number of years, and just again talking about how home ed is combined and worked into everyday life and how that works. And we're also going to talk a little bit detail about what happens after home ed as well, because Bella's currently going through that with her children as well. So lovely to see you, Bella. Can you give us just a little bit of an introduction to yourself?
Yeah, hi Richard. So I'm Bella, and I have two boys who are now 17 and 15. And we live in Battle in East Sussex, and we've been home edding since the crazy times, the lockdowns, when my children were at a school, and actually an international school, about 15 minutes away from us. And we decided to take them out. I'd wanted to home ed for a long time, but the lockdowns kind of pushed us into a position where I didn't really feel like we had much choice, because of the mask wearing. My eldest son is deaf in one ear, and it meant lip reading became very difficult. And so we've been home edding since then, so since 2020.
Wow, and I mean that's incredible. I think COVID was kind of a tipping point for a lot of people who have maybe been on the fence about home ed. I mean, we had no plans to home educate our children, but it was COVID that basically decided us. No, they're not going back to school. They're not going to be in that environment with the masking and the bubbles and all the rest of the nonsense that was happening around
It
that
was
time.
it
So
was so crazy, wasn't it? We tried to, like, go with it for a while. I wrote to the school and I was very clear about my feelings about the mass and all the craziness.
yeah,
um, I kind of felt I just had to say to them that I just didn't agree with it all. But it was very tricky for them because it's an international school and had lots of children from China and all over the world. They were really obviously concerned about, cases and then them having to shut the school down. So we ended up being at home a lot, paying for an education, but actually doing remote learning. And then we were sort of like, wow, this is actually really nice having the boys at home, not rushing around in the morning.
yeah.
Everything just felt calmer and easier. And so, yeah, I mean, like you, we'd kind of, well, I had thought about home edding for some while, just feeling a bit distrustful of the system. And like you, it just kind of, it chose us rather than that
Yes.
be a big decision. So thank you, COVID, for that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Because yeah, it was one of the only good things that came out of it for us, actually. Was actually, no, that's there have been many things that have come from that crazy time which are good,
Yeah.
but that was a
No,
big one.
and
Yeah.
honestly, the same for us as well. I mean, I have an older daughter from my first marriage who's 20, and she's at university, and she was at college at the time, and it was a very difficult time for her. But she didn't want to wear a mask, so sort of helped her with that, with the lanyards and everything. But she was pretty much the only kid in college that wasn't. And it's very hard, I think, when you're in your peer group like that as well. But
Those
um, but I guess yeah,
especially for younger children. I remember, as well, she's not a child, obviously, she's a 20-year-old, but they're being judged all the time. And if you're not conforming and doing exactly what everyone else is doing,
yeah,
it's really, really challenging, isn't it? It's hard enough going into a supermarket without wearing a mask, let alone having to go into school and be around your peers. That must have been so hard for her.
yeah.
So yeah, big hats off.
Yeah, no, I mean she's a good kid, and quite strong-minded. So, but it certainly was a very very strange time, and like you, we had a lot of positives come out of it. I mean, I lost my business, but it sent me off in a different direction that I never would have gone in a million years. That's been really fulfilling, and so from that perspective, it was great for us as well. But one of the things we were going to talk about was, your children are a bit older than my youngest ones, and about the pressures surrounding parents of slightly older children who want to home educate, but maybe aren't too sure if they can hack it because they're worried about GCSEs and qualifications moving forwards and how that's going to affect their child's life in the future. Now, you're actually kind of living that at the moment, with a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. So both of our boys, well, they're very different as children and different learners. So Ed, our eldest, he is Yeah, he's not really interested in sitting down at a desk for hours on end, and he never has been. And that was one of the main reasons why we were kind of looking at home education before COVID, because it just felt wrong, sending a child into school to sit at a desk for hours on end when it really wasn't what they wanted to be doing. And he really struggles with, studying. And so for us, we made the decision with Ed that GCSEs probably weren't a thing, but as long as he was doing something that he loved, and as long as he was working towards what he really wanted to do, then that was what we felt was okay. So we knew I suppose, quite early on in the home ed kind of experience that we didn't want to put him under those pressures.
Yeah.
And so he's ended up going to college without any GCSEs.
Yeah.
He's studying photography and he's absolutely loving it. He's in his first year, but he's being told that he's been accepted, I think, pretty much, even though he hasn't got those GCSEs for the next 2 years,
Wow.
to do his level 3, which
Yeah.
is absolutely phenomenal. So when he went for his interview, the college had stipulated, I think it was a minimum of 5 GCSEs. And I rang the college and said, look, he hasn't done GCSEs, we're home edding, but he's got an amazing portfolio.
Yeah.
And can we get an interview anyway? And they said, sure, no problem. So we went along. And the guy that interviewed Ed loved his work. He talked to him about photography and they got a bit techie, and he realised that Ed obviously knew what he was talking about. And so he just gave him an unconditional offer and accepted him into the college, which is just fantastic because he loved his portfolio and he really liked Ed, and he could see that Ed was able to converse with him, which I know is one of the big benefits of home educating, is seeing how the children tend to be so much more confident and able to converse with other grown-ups. And so I think he saw that and he really appreciated that. So Ed's at college now 3 days a week and loving it. And Ben, our youngest, is much more focused. He is very self-driven and he's very, very focused on his GCSEs. He's already done 3 GCSEs, even though he's not even in GCSE year yet. He's got another year. So he's in current year 10. Okay. And he wants to, he on his own wants to achieve 8 GCSEs. And so we've decided actually that he's probably better to go back to school for a year. So he's actually today at a taster day at Buxwood, which is the international school that he went to before.
Okay.
And I love it there because although they did have to conform with all the mask wearing and everything, it's a very quirky school. They've got peacocks running around and they are, just the headmaster there, quirky, and it's not pressure. There's a lot of people that have either been home edding or, well, actually, people that have home ed or looking to do something just a bit different from your regular education that tend to go there from the sort of local contingency. So it's a fun environment, and they do lots of sport, which Ben really likes. And so for us, he left in the year 7. I think he did about 6 or 7 months in year 7. Then he's had all of the time since then out. He's achieved 3 GCSEs, and now he's going to go back maybe for a year. And then, he can do whatever he wants. He's not sure if he's going to do A-levels or go on to college yet. He doesn't know what he's going to do, whether he might go to university. I don't know. But it's worked out really well. And I think that people that maybe have children that are, of an age where GCSEs are a long way off, but they're looming in the background, the fear and the pressure, there's always a way. That's my advice. There's always a way around it. And, it's worked out really well. And our children are at kind of, slightly different ends of the spectrum, but both of them are going to be fine. I mean, that's the encouraging thing. And there are so many resources now, aren't there, online, as well as home education groups. Like we've got HOPE Sussex community, which was set up in the lockdowns, which is an amazing home ed community, literally 5 minutes from us. And they've done quite a lot of lessons there. And then we've got another place called Wilderness Woods, which is run by an amazing woman who's home educated two of her three children, and she set up a kind of instead of school. So there were I'm thinking about 30 children there on a
Wow.
Thursday doing lessons in different groups. And then we used to go there on a Friday, and there was woodworking and all kinds of other
Yeah.
things that they could do. So we've been really lucky to find two amazing local groups, but I mean, they are popping up everywhere, aren't they, in the country? There's loads that people can do outside of
Well,
the home.
I mean,
So,
there are my sister home ed. She's over in Wiltshire, and they go to forest school there. And I mean, even I lived in rural Somerset in a village of 300 people. We had a home ed group that met in our village hall. But people used to come from like sort of they'd make a 45-minute journey to get there.
oh,
So we were really
that's
fortunate to have it on our doorstep. And it makes such a, especially when you're starting out, and you're not too sure sort of what you're doing, and it just helps to have other parents that are sort of already ahead of you in the process to talk to them, and also to see their kids, because I think there's the general stereotype around home educated children. They're all going to be a little bit weird and a little bit strange, and they're not going to, there's this whole thing around socialization, isn't there, as well? That they're not going to be socialized. They won't know how to talk to people. And you go to these
so
places and
wrong.
you realize that actually they're way far in advance of kids that are at school in terms of the way that they socialize. And as you said, that they interact with adults. I mean, my two that I've got at home, they're 5 and 8, and they see adults just as other people, and they talk to them as
Absolutely.
such. They're not some sort of scary authority figure. And I absolutely love that. And the other thing I think I really enjoy about the home ed side of things, and you're saying with your son, he was able to take photography and pursue it and really follow his passion prior to going to, and he'll be so far ahead probably of the other kids that are in that class in
He
terms
is,
of his knowledge
totally.
and
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah,
Um,
he is, and he's now he's so proud because he's kind of in the top sort of set in
yeah,
the class. He's like, he's really proud, but it is because he's had that time to really
yeah,
sort of focus on his photography, and he's not been coming home from school absolutely exhausted.
yeah,
Having done a whole bunch of lessons that he wasn't interested in,
yeah,
it's worked out really well. And the thing about this, like you said about the socialization,
yeah,
and particularly that um, relationship between a child and a stranger, a grown up that
yeah,
they don't know. There's something that they just understand, that just because they're grown up, it doesn't mean that they're scary. And the
yeah,
teacher child relationship in schools, that it's that system is quite can be quite daunting, can't it, for
yeah.
children?
Well,
And all of that taken away, it's lovely. It's a really lovely thing.
no, it is, and it's. I mean, the school is very much based on sort of a military system, almost with an authority figure. You put your hand up to go to the toilet, to do whatever you want to do. You wait in line for everything. You queue for your food. You give them what everybody else has. It just, it's it's very much designed to just I think take the spirit from children, honestly. But it's
And wearing everyone wearing the same clothes,
yeah,
and the crazy thing that they leave school and they're not taught how to open a bank account. They're no longer cooking at school, or if they are, it's very it's a very small part of
yeah,
their school system. And we can't survive without food. It's so upsetting that they're not learning basic skills like how to cook, and the woodwork and the art and all those other wonderful things that they could be doing. It's all
yeah,
seemingly now so much more focused on the academia and not on any of those other enriching subjects.
yeah.
It is really soul destroying. It's
No,
really sad.
no, it is. It's all
um
very
yeah,
left-brain focused, isn't it? There's no
yeah,
focus on the
yeah,
right side and the creative side. And I think there are reasons for that, but we
yeah.
won't go into those here. But yeah. And so you were talking about community and how you were very lucky to have two very sort of very wonderful communities very close to you for that support. So tell me a little bit more about Hope Sussex, because they're currently undergoing there's a project underway there, isn't there?
Yeah, the Hope Sussex community was set up in the lockdowns, and it was set up because obviously there were many people opposing what was going on, and they're very much a group of people that are questioning, what happened with COVID, and repercussions
The
and the other
narratives,
things
yeah,
that happened afterwards and all within it. And they have, just grown through word of mouth. And they are now a very established home ed community that have support for children to go there to do their lessons like English. They run a sort of school, but not a school. It's very
yeah,
free, and the children are not made to wear uniforms or call their teachers by Mr. or Mrs. That it's all
yeah,
first name, and it's just a really, really lovely place. But they also run a lot of community events alongside the home ed programs there, and they are currently raising money for an indoor venue space because they hold lots of different events and festivals. And for anyone that's in Sussex or nearby to Sussex
yeah,
that's interested, just search up Hope Sussex Community, and
yeah,
you will find on their, either on Instagram or obviously on their website, information about all the different events that they run. And it's a really fabulous place. And when we first started home editing, someone mentioned Hope Sussex to me, and it was just such a wonderful thing to discover literally on our doorstep, but also just to meet some like-minded parents, because we
yeah,
are such community, we are all community people really, even if
yeah,
we don't know it. It's so important, isn't it? And that's why
yeah,
isolating everyone in the lockdowns was, yeah, I
yeah,
mean, incredibly difficult. And so Hope Sussex have been a huge part of my life and the boys' life. In fact, the boys haven't been there for lessons for a while, but I regularly go there
yeah.
and I volunteer there. I'm really passionate about supporting the community there. And so, for instance, this weekend they've got an event called Uprise and Shine, which is a mainly based around health and discussions to do with post-COVID times, and they've got loads of interesting speakers there.
Okay,
And I'm going to be going along to help with serving up the food. And I just love being part of the community. It really feels like a really genuinely wonderful thing to be involved in. And so, yeah, they're raising money. And that's where this whole raffle came into place. So we'll talk when you're ready. I'll tell you about that. But that was all on
yeah.
the back of the Hope community needing to raise some
No,
funds.
I was going to go on
Yeah.
to that next actually, and say that you've got a sort of an interesting way actually of fundraising for them and some other charities as well that you're involved with.
Yeah, so this is all a bit mad, but my husband Nick and we have built a couple of houses in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So we actually only met, I think it's 18, 19 years ago now. And I've moved actually 27 times in my life, which I know sounds absolutely nuts. My dad was in the army and we were moving his
Right.
children, and then I never stopped moving. And here I am, a few
Yeah.
years on from there. And when we met, we first of all built and bought a new build, but then within a few years we bought a little cottage which we renovated and put a big extension on. And then we kind of, had this sort of urge to go a little bit further than just doing an extension, and decided we really wanted to build a house.
Yeah.
So we built our first property, I think we found a plot, yeah, about 10 years ago,
Yeah.
and we sold that plot when the house we lived there for about 3 years, and we moved into some rented accommodation and looked for a new plot, which is
Mhm.
where we are now in Battle. And we've been here, well, we built the house actually in the lockdown, so our frame for the house actually was delivered
Right.
on the day that the timber frame company actually shut down for 3 months. And so we were very, very lucky because we were able to build in the lockdowns, which anyone that's involved in building will know that it was a crazy time. Not only did, the supplies all get diminished, but also the cost of everything massively
Uh-huh.
escalated. And we were
Yeah.
just really lucky. We were kind of like ahead of the curve,
Yeah.
dare I say that.
Must be very
Having
fortunate.
all our materials coming in just when we needed them before the prices all went up or couldn't get hold of the materials. And we decided, I think it was about probably 18 months ago, to put the house on the market because
Yeah.
we had one more project that we wanted to do before we say that is enough.
Yeah.
And sadly, really sadly, my mum was was diagnosed with cancer, and we had to take the house off the market and basically look after her before she died. My sister and I were nursing her between the two of our houses, and so the house came off the market, and we then obviously things have changed a lot since then, because the house prices are still very high, but the market is very slow, because at the time, everything was still selling really, really fast, but things are really different now. So we decided, well, we'd wait until this spring, and we were going to put the house back on the market. But we came across this crazy idea that we could raffle our house, so we could sell the house via a raffle, meaning that someone could win the house for £5, which would just be absolutely amazing, because I mean, what an incredible opportunity. So we thought, well, it sort of all happened when I was talking to Katie Joe, who's the founder with co-founder with Sadie, about fundraising for Hope, and I suddenly thought, oh my gosh, we could actually raffle our house, and alongside that we could do some fundraising for Hope. We set them up as an affiliate, so they earn 10% commission on all their ticket sales, but we're also going to be giving them some money on top of that. And then also we've decided that it would be really nice to raise some money for some local charities. So 2 homeless charities, one called the Matthew 25 Mission, which is in Eastbourne, and another charity based in Battle, who we're not as involved with, but they will be receiving some money from us, called Warming Up the Homeless. And so, basically I chose those charities because I cannot believe in this day and age we've still got people sleeping in the streets in this country. It's absolutely horrendous, and they're really good charities that I trust. So the raffle has been running now for 5 months. We've got 1 more month left. And if anyone would like to buy tickets, the whole thing's being hosted by a third party trusted platform called Raffle, which is RAFFALL, not the traditional way we spell raffle. So raffle.com/Bella B, which is Bella and then BEE. And that's where you can view videos of the house and see all the terms and conditions, and you can take advantage of free tickets that we're giving away at the moment. But it's a really exciting opportunity, and the great thing is that if we don't make it to the target, because we've got to sell 440,000 tickets in total, but if we don't make it to the target, there will still be a big cash prize awarded for the winner. So it's a life-changing prize, whichever way. So anyone that would like to enter and share details on their own pages about the raffle, I'd really appreciate it. If you use the promo code HOPE5FREE, so it's all in uppercase, Hope,
put this on
5, numerical, 5, free, and that would be brilliant. Then those ticket sales will automatically be linked to Hope, and we'll obviously be supporting an amazing community. So I'm sure, being that this is a home ed group, that everyone would love to do that and help boost the ticket sales for Hope, which would be wonderful.
That's fantastic. That's such a unique. Well, I've never heard of raffling a house before. I mean, you see them for you walk through the airport and you see them for cars, don't you, and what have you. But I've never heard of a house being raffled before.
Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. And alongside the house, if we do reach the target, all the legal fees are covered, the stamp duty is covered. There's going to be £10,000 of cash for the winners just to help them settle in. And we're also going to have furnishing in the house as well. So it is an amazing prize. And the trick is, or the trickier part for us, is that there is a big company called Omaze. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're an American company, and they are raffling houses here in the UK because for some reason they're not allowed to do it in America. But they spend millions on TV advertising. So people are entering to win a house with Omaze because you see Omaze everywhere. If you want to a raffle, they pop up on your feed all the time. But they're spending millions on TV advertising. So your chances of winning are actually significantly smaller because they're spending so much on advertising. And when you compare our raffle to, for instance, the lottery, where I think it's a 1 in 45 million chance of winning. Compare it to our raffle. This is a much better way to win an incredible prize. So good luck to everyone that decides to enter.
So, I mean, obviously, you're at a point now as well where your two boys, you know, one's at college, one's gonna be back at school fairly soon, so your days are gonna be sort of freer again. But how did you balance? I mean, obviously, you've been doing project management of house builds and all that sort of
Yeah,
thing whilst they've been at home. I mean,
yeah,
do you have any? How do you balance that with sort of doing what you need to do for the home ed? Then there's all the other
yeah.
aspects of running a household as well as, you know, overseeing project management. Have you got any tips for people on as to how to you sort of combine that? Any routines or, you know,
Yeah.
what do you
I'd say
do?
definitely give up watching television in the evening.
Yeah,
Go to bed earlier. So I always get up earlier than everyone else in the house and get on and
yeah,
do jobs before everyone's up. And that I'm really lucky that I'm an early riser and I love the mornings. In fact, it's my favourite time of the day when no one else is up and I can just get on with things. So for me, I would say it was all about organisation and just knowing that, you know, it's going to be hard. You know, you have to obviously you know, compromise on things, and
yeah,
you know, that burnt toast syndrome where, you know, you as a parent, the mum ends up generally with the burnt toast, but that's okay. You know, it was about making sure that the children
yeah,
were put first and that this was about their time. And somehow we just made it work. You know, I'm really lucky. My hubby works from home, and so, you know, we were able to do a lot of things with the house build together.
yeah,
And it was a lot of evenings of working and getting things done,
yeah,
alongside obviously managing, you know, the children's their needs, which obviously
yeah.
came first. So, but you know, somehow we just, you know, it's amazing what you can get done in a day, isn't it?
Oh
Without
God,
the radio on, without television, you know, you've got a whole load of extra time.
yeah.
And yeah, it was just really about organisation and focus, hard work. Yeah.
I mean, I must admit, I find I'm like you. I'm an early bird. I'm up sort of between 5 and 6 every day, and I find that you know, you can do fit little bits into nooks and crannies, but you just need to have at the top of your mind, you need to have a list or something of things that you can quickly do, these little jobs that you can kind of knock off in like 5, 10 minutes here and there. And because otherwise, yeah, I found that you spend half your time trying to think about what you need to do rather than actually doing anything. You know, it's and that's what really helped me actually in situations like that. It was just, yeah, okay, this is my list. I can knock off that. I can do that now quickly. I can do that now, and just do things, you know, as and when. But yeah, I mean, you know, mornings and evenings, that kind of, yeah, that's your kind of key time, isn't it? Really. I
100%,
must admit,
yeah.
though, past 10 o'clock at night, I'm finished, just gone.
Yeah, I have to say, last night I was so tired. I went to sleep at 9, I think it was 9:15, which
Yeah.
was quite early for me. But you know, yeah, it's amazing that extra hour, or for you 2 hours, because I tend to get up at 6. I mean,
Yeah.
this morning I woke up earlier than that, but that extra time in the morning is so valuable, and there's so much that you can achieve in that time. So that would be my tip: is if anyone's struggling with how they're managing everything,
Yeah.
just go to bed earlier and get up earlier. It's so good for you, especially in the summer, to do that.
Oh God. Yeah.
It really, that really changed my life. I think I was reading a book. There's a woman who's written a book, who runs a raw milk company, Chuckle and Goat, I think it's called, in Wales. And she wrote a brilliant book all about entrepreneurship. And one of the things she said in there is, you know, extend your day by getting up that
Yeah.
hour earlier. And it really does make the difference. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my top tip.
No, it does because you're just really productive. Or for me, anyway.
Yeah,
I know some people are night owls and that's their productive time, but for me personally, that morning time is when I get stuff done, and it's when I basically anything that's like a non-negotiable on my list. It's like, you know, I have to do this. I have to do this. These are the things that I must do every day. I clear those, and then if nothing else gets done that day, at least you feel like you've done something and you're not stressing too much. Yeah, I think that's the thing,
totally.
isn't it? We can be so unkind to ourselves and try and fit in so much that we just need to just calm down a bit and step back and go, okay, I've done what I can, I've done this. I use the morning for like self care as well. You know, either meditate or go out for a bike ride, or you know, and do some yoga or whatever. But it just that's my time, absolutely mine to do what I want with.
That,
And
that's exactly. I've recently joined the gym, but up
yeah,
until recently, I was using that time exactly that to do my yoga and just
Yeah.
spend some time doing some self-care so that I was then ready for everyone else in the onslaught of the day.
Yeah.
Because it sets you up, doesn't it, for the day then?
Yeah.
And you
Absolutely.
feel on top of things and you're happy to take on, whatever comes your way. But yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And I think you're absolutely right. It's about prioritizing. I mean, when we were doing the build, it was manic. But I
Absolutely.
still got up that hour early and did my yoga and everything else that I
Yeah.
wanted to do beforehand. Yeah, that's really key. I really agree with that.
Right, well, look, it's been really lovely chatting with you, Bella. I think we come to around about half an hour now, so it's a good time to call it a close. But thank you so much for coming here and spending time with me here today and telling us about, and especially I think it was lovely the bit about children and moving on from sort of the home ed bit to the next phase in college or whatever they're going to do, because I think that will set a lot of minds at rest.
Yeah, I mean, I was so worried about that. And I'm now looking back thinking, oh my goodness me, all that wasted energy worrying because it's all worked out fine. And that's life, isn't it? It
Yeah,
all works out how it's meant to in the end. And it is taking out the fear because fear just brings us down and it doesn't serve us for anything.
not at all.
And actually, I found that one of the most useful things was finding home ed parents that had got older children and talking to them about different tips for GCSE studies if that's what the
Yes,
route you're taking. They were the ones with all the information, and that was really really helpful. So that would be another bit of advice is just talking to people with older children that have already been through that part of the journey of home editing. So yeah, I hope that it has helped people to see that that there doesn't need to be that fear and
yeah,
it always
absolutely.
works out as it should do.
No, and it was Mark Twain that said, "I've had thousands of worries, most of which have never happened." It's just
Absolutely. It's a
no,
wasted energy, isn't it? It's a
yeah,
wasted energy. So
so yeah,
yeah, never fear.
that's
Well,
lovely.
thank you so much, Richard.
Um,
It's been lovely to meet you too.
no, that's and you too, Bella. And say for anybody that's interested in the raffle or in Hope Sussex, we'll put the links to that sort of in the comments or in the post with this video. So take look out for those. But thanks again, Bella, and
Thank
take
you so
care.
much. Thank you. You too. Okay. Bye. Bye bye.